Welcome to People Doing Good for Others, where we celebrate and praise and hold in the light those that are truly making significant contributions in our communities. I'm Gary York, and I'm grateful to be with you today. We want to thank Wilkes Communications, RiverStreet Productions, and 100.9 WIFM for this opportunity. And we're honored today to have Ms. Brooke Church with us. She's a legacy in our community with earning 2 degrees at the Wilkes Early College. She's almost graduating from University of North Carolina, and her long-term goal is to be a lawyer, and will be going to law school before we know it. So thank you for being here with us in Brooke Church. And tell us about growing up on a farm and your brother and life early on, if you will.
Well, the farm is, as far back as my great-grandfather, it was a genuine farm. But now it's more of a hay farm, just that my grandfather cultivates. But the experience of growing up on the farm really shaped my perspective of life. And certainly now, more than ever, now that I'm in Chapel Hill. But just the ability to run around and just, you know, be with nature and be with my family all the time, it just really turned me into the person that I am. And so, you know, for the longest time, I wasn't really appreciative of it, being so far out there in the middle of nowhere. But now, having seen more of the world, I really have grown to appreciate the childhood that I had because of where I lived.
Obviously, you learned to work hard.
Yeah.
As you've proven in your career in education. So some of those things came out off of the farm too?
Absolutely. They come from the work ethic that I always saw, you know, with my grandfather, my father, just everyone all the time was taking responsibility for themselves and for things that needed to be taken care of, and that just kind of translated into how I run my life.
And you've had significant influence in education in Wilkes County, most of it so far. So where did you start in to school, and the stops you made before the early college?
Well, I started at Mount Pleasant Elementary here in Wilkes County, and I ended up moving to Ash, where I was placed in the AIG, Advanced Intellectually Gifted, I believe. Mm-hmm. And it's just that recognition of some kind of talent that I had made me really, really enjoy going to school every day. And that just has never changed. I really began to put forth all the effort I could in school, and that I ended up at West Middle. And that's my last step before the early college. But yeah. Again, I just continued to love school all the time.
Well, let's go right there to that 8th grade experience when folks came to your school, West Wilkes Middle, and started to talk about the early college and how you felt that day, and let's go from there.
I'd heard, you know, this and that about the early college, but I didn't know a whole lot about it. But then in 8th grade, they sent some instructors and a couple of students who were first-year students there to speak to us about it. And so I learned all the details and everything, and they were like, you can have a couple months to think about it and apply. But I just knew from the moment they came that the early college was the option for me, because, you know, I did love school, and the drawbacks, you know, not having sports, not having dances, things
right.
like that, they just didn't really matter to me. I mean, I'd always played sports, but it was something, it was sort of a no-brainer, because it's 2 free years of education, and right here locally. So, I mean, there was really no question.
And you were in an elite group that was accepted after your application. Tell us about
right.
Being in that group.
Well, they take 60 students every year from the 4 middle schools in the county, so it is a pretty limited number. But I mean, there's an application process. You fill out the application, the principal and the guidance counselor come to the middle schools and do interviews and things like that to try to get to know you, and they select those that they think would be best served by the early college, because it does have specific goals. You know, some are for students who can't afford to go all 4 years, some students who maybe wouldn't perform as well in high school. So they really had to get to know us individually before selecting us to attend.
And you had several mentors in those formative years? Jan Kerr?
Jan Kerr, yes. She was my freshman English teacher at the early college, but she also taught this seminar that we were all required to take. It was meant to prepare us for the life ahead at the early college. And she took that very, very seriously. You know, she took the time to really delve into who we are, to try to help us understand how we can best navigate the years ahead.
Oh, yeah.
And she never stopped being my mentor. You know, even in senior year, I would go to her classroom. After school, she was my mentor in clubs. She even altered my prom dress.
My goodness.
She was always there, yeah.
How about that? Lisa Lentz?
She's the guidance counselor at the early college, and she was there in my interview in 8th grade, and she's been there ever since. She helped me get countless scholarships. She's just a really sweet lady. And her husband, I'm involved with him through the Key Club as well. So they're just so great people, yes.
I'm sure that as I'm learning more about you, you are so grateful for people that have been significantly involved in your career so far, and I'm glad that you remember to highlight those folks. I met you through Dennis Huggins, yeah. So tell us about the role he's played.
I met Dennis as a part of UTA. This means United Teens in Action. So there's a group of 11th graders chosen from the Wilkes County schools, and we met once a month, and we did a service project. And I met Dennis through that. And he just sort of took an interest, because I didn't know many of the students, because there are fewer early college students selected. And he would make the effort to talk to me every day, and we built this relationship, and I also knew his wife through the community college. And it turned out he also helped me get scholarships and things like that as well.
Michelle Shepard.
She is the most recent principal at the early college. I knew her daughter in middle school, but I didn't really know her as well as I wish I had now. But when she came to the early college, things changed. Within months, she made it possible for us to play sports. I was able to join the West High swim team in my senior year. We began having homecomings. We've always had a sort of a prom, but we started doing more things like normal high schools, I went back for my friend's graduation this month, and they've put up signs in the cafeteria like you'd have at a traditional high school, but instead of honoring like athletic competitions, it honors everyone who's graduated and gone to a 4-year university.
Wow.
There are banners up in the cafeteria. So she's just she's made all these efforts to make the early college a better place for everyone.
I know in the last couple of years that Dennis and Mrs. Shepard have played a key role in my life, and they're just as close as a call away to helping me in whatever it might be. So I share. Now let's talk about the achievements in 4 years at the early college, starting with a high school diploma. And Ms. Church, bring us up to speed on these awesome things that you've been able to accomplish.
Well, the early college in its most basic form is a 5-year program where you earn your high school diploma and an associate's degree, like one or the other, arts or science. But I really didn't want to stay 5 years if I didn't have to, so I began taking summer classes like right after freshman year. And the people like Jan Kerr, they helped me do that. You know, they would write recommendations that they thought I should be allowed to do that based on my performance in their classes. So with summer classes, I got to the beginning of senior year and essentially had one of the associate's degrees. And there's only a few classes different between the associate in arts and the associate in science. So I said, hey, I've got a year, I need a few more classes, I might as well. So I just went ahead and got both associate's degrees, as well as my diploma in the 4 years at the early college.
So the traditional, study would be in 5 years, we get 1 degree.
Right.
So you were able to, in 4 years, get 2 degrees,
right.
2 associate's degrees, and be accepted at the University of North Carolina. And also, I want to mention several times that with debt-free, have not 1 penny except, what'd you say, a parking pass,
yes.
maybe?
Yes. So you know, what I did at the early college was unprecedented, right?
You called it double dipping.
Double dipping,
Tell
yes.
us about that.
Double dipping is a wonderful thing the early college does. So I'll use foreign language as an example. To graduate high school, you know, you have to have so many credits of foreign language. The same goes if you get an associate in arts, at least for the community college. So instead of having to take X number of Spanish courses at the early college high school and then taking some at the college, Jen Kerr wrote the recommendation that I should be able to go on and just take the Spanish at the college level, and it counted for both. So those sort of things are what put me on the fast track to be able to do the things that I did. So sort of people seeing what I was trying to do and understanding that I was serious about it, and then finding unique ways to make it happen. Those are the people that have been most influential.
How amazing. Jessica Wyatt.
Yes.
Let's visit Jessica Wyatt for a minute.
Okay, so as I moved up in the college and I had taken all of the basic courses you have to take, I began taking courses that I just was interested in. And Jessica Wyatt is a professor of history at Wilkes Community. And she was just a wonderful teacher all along, but there became a cohort of us. I think there were 10 or 11 of us that just really loved history, and we loved her. And so we sort of lobbied for her to make specific classes for us that we were really interested in. We had suggestions. We wrote like names on the board of things we would like to take. And then she actually created a class for us, and we sort of stuck together with her as a cohort for like, I don't know, a year and a half. But I grew really fond of her, and like she would always joke like, "You're all gonna major in history now, aren't you?" And I wasn't, but now I am. So she has really been influential.
At some point in time, the University of North Carolina became a goal.
Right.
What was that attraction, if you will, about going to Carolina?
Honestly, my father turned me toward Carolina. He had learned about it, and he really liked the idea, so he had me to go on a tour. And I mean, the campus is beautiful, and they have the numbers, if you will. They have the sort of prestige I was looking for. Yeah. And that it's sort of just the next step on my journey. So it just came to be. So
again, we're at Carolina debt-free, and tell us about arriving on campus at Chapel Hill and that special moment, if you will.
Well, I was very nervous, to be honest. Going to Chapel Hill, it was a very big change. I'd never been away from home that long, and it's, you know, the city is very different than Wilkes County. But, you know, I just sort of embraced it from the beginning. There was an event the very first night I stayed there and went to that with my roommate, and from there, I mean, it was a transition, certainly, but it's been a lot of fun.
Dealing with these exceptional heavy course load, tell us about how do you handle all that?
I always have a reward system for myself, and sometimes it's as insignificant as like, if I get my homework done by 6 p.m., I can watch this many episodes of television. Or sometimes it's more significant, like if I can make this grade in this course, I will buy myself this thing I've wanted for months. So I just always encourage myself with some sort of motivation. Like there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and that's how I get through everything.
I can thank Dennis Huggins again for introducing us and this phenomenal achievement of how you handle it. That's amazing. How about talk about high expectations for a moment? That's what a unique, you know, to expect to do a lot and to do it. Just talk about growing up and developing that inner strength about, I always want to have high expectations myself. Ms. Church, tell us about that.
Well, if you don't have high expectations of yourself, you're not going to push yourself as you should. So, you know, I don't always meet all of my goals. They're just so far out there. But at least by striving for them, I'm accomplishing something. I always end up somewhere, right? The early college is the exception, where I had this wild goal that even I, at some point, didn't think I'd be able to do that, you know, the 4-year thing. But, you know, I managed to, and that is sort of the exception. Most things that I really strive for, I just, I don't get all the way, but I get a good way. And so I think it's very important to have high expectations, and that's, like we spoke about at the beginning, it comes from others. Everyone's always had very high expectations for me.
Right.
And so I began just having them for myself. And, even part of that was just to meet theirs, I had to have my own. So, yeah.
How about that? We want our audience to understand today that in a year and a half, which will be one more semester, you will have a degree from the University of North Carolina. How about, there must be some huge class sizes, or do you have a couple of takeaways you could share about the Carolina experience so far?
Yeah, it's certainly different. Everything, has its positives and its negatives. There are certainly larger class sizes, which I miss the class sizes here at Wilkes Community.
Mm-hmm.
The professors were really able to get to know you and everything, and that's not always the case at UNC, but they do have more specific courses if you have a very specific interest. So, for example, here at Wilkes, Jessica Wyatt taught The World Since 1945, and that was a wonderful class, and there was a segment on decolonization, whereas at UNC, I took a class about a specific country decolonizing. So it's just, you have the opportunity to get very much more narrow at a bigger university like that. So, those are the takeaways. There's better things and there are worse things.
Okay. I want to go back to Michelle Shepard for just a minute.
Sure.
And if you will, let's just address that relationship one more time, if you will, about the significance in your life of coming together with Michelle Shepard, who is, by the way, the principal at the early college, right?
Right, she is. She just made it possible to do a lot more. She never even questioned it. She came in and I was already in my junior year, and I had my first meeting with her and I said to her, this is what I'm doing. I'm graduating in 4 years. I'm trying to get 2 degrees. And she didn't question me. Like, she just took it at my word, and I guess maybe she looked into it. But either way, she supported me from there on out. She was the mentor in the Key Club, and she just...
What's Key Club?
Key Club it's one of the student organizations at the early college. I assume it's at most high schools.
Okay.
But it's just a service organization. We did like March of Dimes events, things like that. And she started that. We didn't have a Key Club, for example. She chartered that when she came to the early college. So she got us involved in something we never had been before. So she just absolutely revolutionized the early college.
She came from a farm and had a couple of people that had tremendous impact in her life, and I think she even thought about dropping out one time or so, and a person came out to the field and got her back in school, and she talked about becoming a bus driver was a key part of being an educator. So what an icon, Michelle Shepard, to have that experience. Do you have, when we talk about applying to law school, do you have an idea where that might be?
I've recently discovered there are 2-year law school programs, and I like to do everything fast. So I'm really heavily looking at those, and that narrows it down. I think there's 15 in the country. So that certainly narrows down my options, but I have not made a decision yet. I will apply this year.
Okay. Back to Chapel Hill, you said you'd be, I think it's really amazing that you're always in school and you'll be back in school this summer. I mean, there are no huge breaks. Just tell us what's going to happen this summer.
I have to go take a few summer classes this summer. What was going to happen was I was going to get to December and have just a couple credit hours left, and I couldn't make myself pay a whole semester's tuition just for a couple of credit hours. Mm-hmm. So I decided I would go and take summer classes there this summer, and that's why I'm graduating in December. It's just more practical than going for the semester for a couple courses.
Yep. Have you worked any? You
Yes.
had an employment.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I work at the YMCA. I still do. I work tomorrow even. I got the job through my senior project in high school, so I've been working there almost 2 years now, and I just work whenever I'm home from college.
Tell us about your senior project.
So
What is a senior project to start,
Okay.
Ms. Church?
A senior project, all potential graduates in Wilkes County have to do what's called a senior project. It needs to be somehow community-based. You have to learn something you didn't know before, and you have to go do something for someone else, essentially. I'm not really an expert, but like my mom's side of the family can't swim. Like throughout life, they've just been terrified of water, but I've always loved it. You know, I'm in the swim team in high school.
Yes.
I love the water, and I didn't like seeing people that I cared about afraid of it. So what I chose to do in my senior project was go to the YMCA and get certified as a lifeguard and a swim instructor. And my project was to go to the lake on summer days to the beach areas and teach children for free how to swim. I'd get their parents to sign a waiver, and I was with a ranger, so I wasn't just alone doing this. There was a park ranger there as well. And we would teach these children how to swim. And if they already knew, we'd help them improve their stroke or something like that. And so that was my senior project. And I didn't intend to get a job out of it, but apparently I had impressed the director during the class, and so she called one day. She said, "Hi, would you like to interview with me?" And so I did. And I just ended up with a job at the Y, and I've been there ever since.
The setting, when you make a presentation with the senior project, is there, tell us about how that might appear for our audience today.
So with the senior project, you have to make a portfolio, which has everything from like the beginning of your idea to the very end, photographs of what you did. And then you also have to create a presentation. There was a time constraint, I don't remember what it was, but then you present it in front of a panel of judges. Ideally they would be anonymous. And you have to convince these judges that you learned something new and that you helped someone with it in some way. And so that if they approve of your project, then you can graduate.
Okay, how about that? Teaching those who have fear of water to swim.
Yes.
Good for you.
Thank you.
You're also #1 in your class. Go back and tell us about that, if you will.
Yes, I was #1 at the early college high school. I know we don't technically recognize the valedictorian in Wilkes, but certainly that's what my transcript said. There's really, I mean, I got to speak at graduation, but otherwise, I mean, besides helping me get into Carolina, it's just a title, I guess.
So you spoke at graduation.
Yes.
What, can you give us a little idea of some of the remarks you made?
Just encouraging people to, I know I used a quote, I think it was, don't try to change the world, find something that you love and do it every day. And if you do that for the rest of your life, the world will change. Because I mean, that's sort of where I'm coming from. I've done these things, but really, I just loved school that much. I just, you know, I didn't really seek to become a legend, as you say. I just wanted to be in school and do the best I could and save my family money. So that was just what happened.
And your GPA is?
Okay.
Was?
It was at the early college 4.7765, I think, and Wilkes Community was like 3.964, something like that. I don't. It's been a while.
Okay.
But I think that's right.
Okay. And we talked about first in academic excellence. Revisit that, if you will.
So the community colleges every year, there are 58 in the state of North Carolina, and each one of them picks a student that goes there to represent them as the great within the 58. And so last year, when I graduated, I became Wilkes Community's representative of that year for the North Carolina Academic Excellence Award. So that was just, it was an amazing honor, you know, hearing the president of Wilkes Community speak about me and my achievements, and it was just, I mean, it was unreal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Let's talk now, if you will, about law school.
Okay.
And the aspiration, your vision. What has drawn you to be a lawyer, and the areas? Let's expand on that, if you will.
Honestly, I don't, I can't tell you. I've loved it my entire life. Law school, or not even law school, but law, and just law and order, and just the philosophical origins of the law. It's just always been alluring to me, and so I always tell my family if I'm upholding the law or fighting crime, I'll be happy. And so I feel like a background in law will be perfect for that. I don't know that I'll ever be an office lawyer, but certainly I want to have that background for whatever I end up doing.
And so there's it's going to be possible that you will the degrees, you will make those achievements and have no debt. Is that what we said?
Not for law school.
Okay.
I will get out of Carolina debt-free, but
Wow.
probably not for law school. It's so much more expensive.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Is the FBI or something like that, could that possibly be a...
Yes, I have a major at Carolina. It's the only one in the country, actually. It's called Peace, War, and Defense. And it prepares you for careers in like national security and things like that. So I've elected to double major in that with history because, I mean, that's exactly down my path, right?
Yeah.
So that prepares you for careers in the CIA, the FBI, things like that. So.
When this incredible accomplishment about achieving, and obviously your incredible talent and your work ethic is just beyond compare. Would you ever think about teaching?
I've thought about it. I could certainly see myself.
Your
as,
experiences of how to get from here to there would just be such a gift in the classroom.
Yeah, and I love school so much. I don't know that it would be an immediate career goal, but certainly as I get older, I could see myself going back, teaching at an early college or at a college as a professor. I could see any of that. So that certainly has crossed my mind, but it's not the direction I'm headed in right now.
Yeah. This opportunity for me to be with you and to have the Dennis Huggins bring us together and just to see a person who's you're relentless in achievement, and that's just a huge attribute. And we have Wilkes Communications, our sponsors, to thank today, and RiverStreet Productions, and we have a wonderful team here helping us today, and I want to thank them and WIFM. So as we come to a place of, just tell us about how grateful you are to the people that have surrounded, that have embraced you in a special way, if you will. Brooke Church, and your gratitude for having great skills and working hard.
Just everything, from the state of North Carolina offering the early college to all of the mentors I found through it. I just couldn't be more grateful because nothing I've done would be possible. Nothing I'm going to do would happen at the same time. I just couldn't have done any of it without them.
And we're going to be married soon, or you engaged this lately?
Lately, yes. It'll be a couple years. I want to finish school first, but we are engaged. So.
Would you have a particular person maybe along the way that you'd say, let me talk about somebody in a special way? Will you do that for me?
Sure. My dad, certainly.
Your dad?
My dad was the one. He's always pushing me for things.
What's his name?
It's Tracy Church.
Oh, Tracy?
Yeah. He just has been my hero, my inspiration. He's everything I want to be, I guess. But he's always pushed me to achieve something bigger and better all the time. And he's got good points. He always says, if you do this now, you never have to worry about it again. And so that's sort of my outlook, I guess.
If you do the right thing, you don't have to fix it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, he's always like, you need to finish this while you started it right now, and then you can move on to the next thing. And that's why I do everything so fast, I guess.
Well, you've honored us in a special way today.
Thank you.
So I hope you'll come back from time to time and let's do this again. God
Anytime,
bless you.
sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, friend.